Hello. Hi. Welcome. Today we are discussing the New York Times and their 10 best books of 2025. I am not excited. I am not excited about it. I looked at this list and I was like, do I even want to discuss it? But I thought let's just discuss it and see if my mind can be changed. I usually love a list. I usually gobble it up with a spoon, but this list, oh no, I don't know about this one. So if you are new and you're like, who is this woman talking about how she's not excited to discuss something on camera, then know that my name is Shelly. I like to read and I like discussing lists for the most part. Maybe we can get to the bottom of why this one isn't doing it for me. Maybe subscribe, maybe like the video, but mostly glad that we're chilling together. I don't know, this is going weird. Let's go ahead and get into the meat of this video. We have 5 fiction and 5 nonfiction books, and we're going to start with nonfiction. So the first one is A Marriage at Sea by Sophie Elmhirst. This book is about a story of a young couple setting out to sea in 1972. And they decide to give up their lives in England to sail to New Zealand on their boat. And after 9 months, their boat was destroyed, leaving this couple stranded for 118 days. This is this is their story. Okay. On the surface, it doesn't sound terrible. It sounds actually really good. I like an intriguing story. I feel like for a nonfiction book, the author's going to have to fill in quite a bit of this story. I'm sure there was interviews with the couple, I would hope. Basically, I'm thinking, how did the author do this? What can we take from this? That's what I'm thinking. I'm like skeptically wondering, how did the author craft this story? Our next book is Mother Emanuel by Kevin Sack. So this is the story of a shooting that happened 10 years ago. Actually, kind of close to me. I mean, it's a couple of driving hours away from me. And it was a shooting and it killed 9 members of a Bible study class at Charleston's Emmanuel AME Church in 2015. The shooter struck at the heart of the oldest African-American Episcopal congregation in the South. And this is the story, 10 years of researching, 10 years of study and reporting. And this is about the church's essential role of America's story. This is the Black church's essential role in America's story and a surpassingly eloquent testament to resilience, resistance, and faith. Okay, I am really only interested in this. Well, I mean, there are a couple things that are interesting me about this. Part of it is just proximity. It's close to me. I've been to Charleston many times. I might have even driven by that church. So that's interesting to know more about my local history, but a broader appeal. I mean, it's not a not interesting story, but if this was set somewhere else, would my interest have been piqued on it? Probably not. The next book I've seen all around the internet. I'm familiar with the concept, the premise, I suppose. I've seen it on Britta Bowler's channel and Terry Talks Books, among other channels. And it is Mother Mary Comes to Me by Aruhati Roy, which is a darkly funny memoir about Aruhati Roy's mother. Okay? Okay, it's fine. It's fine. And it's about how she flees her insular Indian community to the cosmopolitan Delhi, and to then the global stage. And she, like her mother, is imperious, impatient, and unforgettable. So I think it's just, that Roy has come to that place in her life, I believe, that she is reflecting a lot on her mother. Maybe the blueprint that her mother set out for her. I know that I have 2 Roy books that I have not read. That's what it reminds me of. The next book is There Is No Place for Us, Working and Homeless in America by Brian Gladstone. So this is a book that we often see on the New York Times Best Books of the Year. They'll often have something that is looking at poverty in America, the injustices in America, and not just like a single incident, i.e. the AME church that we saw in the previous book, but something that is more widespread, whether it be the drug epidemic, the homelessness crisis, the struggle that the working class are having to put food on their table, something like extremely important and extremely broad. And this is the book that is filling that slot for this year. And this is going to be following 5 Atlanta families for whom home is a car or a relative's house or a squalid room in an extended stay hotel. And it's often rotating from those 3 places. So just an intimate look at this very poignant problem that's happening right now, this extremely sharp problem that we're having in America. And just like bringing light, bringing knowledge, bringing thought to this particular problem. Their nonfiction list ends with a bad boy artist biography. They call it the bad boy artist. And it's called Wild Thing by Sue Perdue, and it is a life of Paul Gauguin. I don't know Gauguin's work, so I can't really comment on it, but it's doing exactly what biography things do. And I like that they chose, a painter, it looks like. So that's exciting. A French painter. The first book on this list is basically a list of things that I don't want to read about. and the New York Times even says that it sounds like it shouldn't work. Okay. So this is Angel Down by Daniel Cross. It's a stream of consciousness. No, thank you. World War I novel told in a sprawling 285-page-long sentence. No. About a failed draft dodger who finds, of all things, an angel on the battlefield. I'm just like, you're not selling me on it. I don't care if you led with, this doesn't sound good, but it is good. I'm still like, it still doesn't sound good, so no thank you. The next book is a historical fiction book set during World War II. It is the director by Daniel Kellman, second Daniel on the list, and it is how a 20th century Austrian filmmaker is stuck in Europe under Nazi rule. And that is the premise of the story. It sounds interesting. I think, it's going to probably have some conversations about art and making art and how to do that under like this pressure. I'm sure there's like ties to present day, which would be smart and interesting. Overall, I don't know. Okay. The next is The Loneliness of Sonia and Sunny. The Loneliness of Sonia and Sunny by Karen Desai. Of course, this made huge splashes in our corner of BookTube because it was on the Booker. It was honored for the Booker, okay? And it is the richest 19th century fiction, this 700-page family saga that makes it's supposed to be just so great, guys. And from what I've heard, it's like there's Sonia and there's Sunny and they're lonely and they really could use each other. And everyone says it's like the slowest burn love story in the making. And on paper it sounds good, and it's supposed to be about being a writer in India and the love and the social constructs that are in their way and how they are just near misses to each other. And on paper that just sounds so good. What is holding me back is the 700 pages, but also what is intriguing me is the 700 pages. What do I do? You tell me. Please and thank you. The next book almost sounds like autofiction, which is a huge no for me, but it's called The Sisters by Jonas Hassan Khemiri. So it's like the narrator of this novel is spry and playfully neurotic, and it says that it's even a stand-in for the author according to the Times. So I'm like, ooh. Close up and from afar at drunken parties and pickup basketball games, he follows the fortunes of these sisters, Ina, Evelyn, and Anastasia, and he follows them for 3 decades. Half Swedish and half Tanzanian. Oh man, I mean, the premise sounds good. I'm not a big fan of autofiction, guys. Okay, yeah, it's just my anti-buzzword, and that is what is making me anti-buzzy about this, okay? And our last book is kind of a disappointment, okay? And it's Stone Yard Devotional by Charlotte Wood. The reason why is because it was honored by the Booker in 2024. So I feel like I knew all about this book. We had heard reviews. I had like seen all the takes on it. And then now the New York Times is like, guess what, guys? The best book of the year. But I'm like, you're a year late. But it's ultimately about a woman who arrives at a convent and all these crazy things happen. And we're just the push and play between the rural life, the rural religious life, and the inner life of this main character. And it, it doesn't sound terrible, but it just doesn't sound amazing. And I have a visitor, so that means I gotta go. It's time for me to go. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you. And I hope to see you all in my next one. Bye, guys.